bookception today, talking about books within books. Doesn't sound so interesting. I should really think about something better, maybe. But hello and welcome to the channel Gone with Gandalf, where I upload precisely when I can make sure that no one can overhear me recording, because who likes that? The Red Book of Westmarch is the subject indeed. Bilbo's book as seen here. I'll get straight on into it and begin by saying that the book was initially just Bilbo's diary of the events of The Hobbit, and the table of contents on the first page had a lot of crossed out names, as you might when you keep on adding to a book. The title changes as well, and I'll just put them on the screen here. Hopefully you can see them, because there's no point in me reading them all out. It's quite interesting though, maybe, for you. Anyway, the current and in use title, therefore, was The Downfall of the Lord of the Rings and the Return of the King, which is quite similar to kind of what The Lord of the Rings is, except this was kind of The Hobbit as well within that. Also to note then, it was written below that as seen by the little people, being the hobbits, being the memoirs of Bilbo and Frodo of the Shire, supplemented by the accounts of their friends and the learning of the wise. And then furthermore, together with extracts from books of lore translated by Bilbo in Rivendell, which made it all of more of a compendium with many volumes in one. Is a little different to how they were portrayed in the films, of course, where you had Bilbo's entry as There and Back Again, A Hobbit's Tale by Bilbo Baggins, and The Lord of the Rings by Frodo Baggins. So not only did this comprise of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, this also had appendices that have all the extra information, like family trees, various houses, of various houses rather, and the notes on Elven and Dwarven languages, but then also the history of creation and of Beleriand, which is just essentially the Silmarillion. And this is what Bilbo was doing for his 20 years of retirement in Rivendell. But the significance of the book goes further than that, and it is great, since it was like the greatest tale of the age written first hand. And this particular book, the Red Book that we see in the films, would eventually be lost, however, but many copies were made, and Aragorn requested one too, and this was delivered to Gondor, where it was expanded and revised, particularly the elvish translations, because Bilbo wasn't 100% perfect on them. But Pippin's great-grandson, so the timeline's gone a little bit beyond, so we're into the 2nd century, or the 4th age rather. He'd eventually asked for a copy of this expanded version to be sent back to the Shire, and this was kept as the Thain's book, who was like the second highest political figure in the Shire and head of the Tuck family. And this was then kept in the Great Smeals, which is a way of just saying a very large hobbit hole in Tuckborough. And this became the most important copy, since it was the only complete edition with all of Bilbo's translations and all the juicy extras. And this would be the one that Tolkien, yes, J.R.R. Tolkien, the author, he'd say that he discovers this, and from this he would translate all of the great sagas, if you like, from their original languages into English for us to read, which is quite an interesting idea. Also, the idea that we are in the 7th age or so, so from here being the beginning of the 4th age, this would have been about 7,000 years ago in this kind of interesting timeline, if you will. The Thain's book would therefore become the main chronicle of the folk of the Shire, since, as I said earlier, the Red Book was given by Bilbo to Frodo when Sauron was defeated, who then gave it to Sam when Frodo and Bilbo as well, they sailed west in the first year of the 4th age. He would then Sam would keep it, but then he would give it away when his wife sadly passed away in the 60th year of the 4th age, and then he himself would also sail west, since he was a ring bearer. Only for a short time, but he was a ring bearer, so he had that right. And he did that at the age of 99. Other books like this did exist, just as we have chronicles from like the Middle Ages. I'm thinking of Beedle, but Beedle the Bard. Anyway, sidetrack. But in this, in Lord of the Rings, there was the Book of Kings and the Book of the Stewards, which were chronicles of Gondor. So nice examples there. Tolkien's influence was the very similar 15th century Red Book of Hergest. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I'm just saying it. And that was also bound in red leather. And this was a compilation of Welsh history and poetry. And he probably had viewed it in the... Well, there was a copy in the Bodleian Library in Oxford. So you could go and have a look at it for yourself if you wanted to, if you're in the Oxford area. It's just nice to know of how far Tolkien's imagination stretched with his world building. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy it, and if you did enjoy it, then consider subscribing. Maybe, and maybe a like in there. Who knows? Just throw in a comment as well. Go on, do it. Anyway, I am going with Gandalf now. Good day.